So when I spoke at Magnify, the workshop was about concept called brain gain. So it's always the situation that people are saying, oh, all the talented people are leaving the country and because they've got better opportunities in Canada or Australia. But when a fifth of the workforce is neurodivergent, actually is you've got the talent pool there, you just don't know how to be attractive to it, right? And we were working on during the workshop. I broke up everyone into teams and asked them to think about what sort of what accommodations they'd like to see in their workplace that would benefit people who, so to put themselves in the shoes of a person who might be neurodivergent and think about what accommodations they would like to see in the workplace. And across the four groups, were all of them said, number one, clear and diverse forms of communication. So not just some guy pops into your cubicle and says, I need this done by like 4 o'clock, blah, 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 and then they leave. Because if you've got dyspraxia, if you've got ADHD, you might have audio processing disorders. So like you might have heard the person, but you might not have processed what they've actually just told you to do. And then it puts you in a really awkward situation of having to go back to them maybe in a Slack message or an email and be like, actually, I didn't understand what you, and then you look stupid, even though you're not stupid, you just didn't understand what the instruction was because of what, it's not communicated in the way that suits your brain.
Yeah.
So that was like that was one of the main ones. Having like a quiet space or soundproofing, like basically noise cancelling headphones for staff if they need them, or a place in the office where it is quieter. That can also help people focus as well. Like if I'm in like a hyper focused state and I'm like really, really working on something I'm really passionate about, the worst thing that can happen is somebody just distracts me from that, and I get really agitated about it, and I'm like the magic source is gone. I got to get myself back into that headspace, and sometimes you can't get back into that space, so it can really be disruptive to your day. So I think those were the two big ones.
I find that really interesting because I've got a background in audio, sound recording. So like the audio and acoustics of a space is something that I know a little bit about. So is that really, really important for neurodivergent people?
Yeah, so there's people who, let's say, who have ASDs or they have autism. They can pick up like the sound of like lights, like, and they'll focus on that, and it becomes really distracting. So if you've got like those old halogen lights, they have like a buzzing noise to them. And for most like neurotypical people, they won't really like, it's just background noise. But for someone who's neurodivergent, they might just really fixate on that noise, and it can be really like really distracting.
Right? I can't work here. What's
that
buzz?
Yeah. And that'll happen with with sort of electromagnetic sounds, but also maybe somebody's chewing near you. That's a very annoying sound, because the more you fixate on it, it's sort of like your ears focus on it, and then it becomes louder,
right?
And it just like echoes in your mind. It's just like.
My wife has a go at me for that all the time.
Yeah, so your wife might be neurodivergent. So yeah, those kind of things happen regularly in workplaces, and so being aware that those things might happen, if you have some noise cancelling headphones, that can just get rid of that. So that makes the workplace more accessible for everyone.
I guess I can kind of relate to that, because like what we were talking about earlier, as in like I work in a co-working space, and it's a great space, great vibe. I love everyone there. But if I need to focus on like a intensely if I need to focus on something like really intense focus, I use earplugs,
Yeah.
and I'm in my own office, but it's glass, so you can still hear like people using the coffee machine and people laughing. And like with the earplugs in, it just blocks everything out. And I've been doing that the last couple of weeks, and it really does help.
Yeah.
But I guess if there's actually like spaces in the office landscape where the rooms are treated more acoustically to cater for that, then it'll probably benefit quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the important thing about neuroinclusion is that these sort of changes in the workplace are not going to benefit just the neurodivergent people. Everyone might have, you might have a hangover, you might have a headache, you don't have to be, oh, I'm super focused, I fixate on sounds, and if the place isn't quiet, then I can't work. It could just be that for you on that specific day, the loud noise of a workplace is uncomfortable and you want to be in a place that's quieter. So making these accommodations for people who are neurodivergent benefits everyone in the workplace. It just makes the place a lot more inclusive. That's the benefits, right? And it's not just about the workplace; it's about the hiring process, the onboarding process, the workplace, and then at work from home. It's like so many things that need to change across the board for a place to be inclusive and tap into that
and I
fifth
guess
of the population.
Yeah, and also if you reduce staff churn, you increase. You reduce.
There's a direct monetary benefit to the company, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Because
the less time they have to keep recruiting new people to replace their
recruiting is
stuff.
expensive, right?
Yeah. All the recruiters on LinkedIn are going to be like, no, we're not. We're competitive.
Yeah, but it's like even if it's not right, I don't know. It's the process of finding someone, the time you spend training them outside of just recruitment fees. Like time is money. Every business owner knows that. And at the larger level where there's a large workforce, if they can, from what I'm getting from what you're explaining, is that the more businesses that kind of know this, it will have a positive impact on.
I think even for companies that are recruiting, let's say they're growing, right? So it's not like a negative. It's not that they have churn or whatever. They've done well this year. They're looking to hire new people for 2024, and if their recruitment process, their hiring process, isn't neuro-inclusive, you're ostracizing a whole bunch of potentially 20% of the applicants are not going to apply because they're going to be like, oh, it's going to be difficult to work there, or just based on the application process, right? So having requiring face-to-face interviews, for example, is difficult for someone who has ASD because they have to potentially go through public transport to get to your office, and public transport is like one of the worst places for a person with autism to go, right? Just so many unknown variables, loads of loud noises. You're constantly being shoved and pushed around by people in the train, and just to go do an interview. So that might seem like super daunting. So having those processes be more accessible will definitely benefit a lot of businesses.
Cool. So this might not come out right, so I might have to do this a couple of times. These guys can all pass. We're a marketing agency. We edit loads of different short form videos, clips from podcasts. One of them was a business podcast the other day, and they described neurodiversity as a buzzword and a label. And I think what I'm trying to say is it's what does the term mean and why is it not that? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I get it. So I think
I should probably do the intro again, right? And then
no, it's fine. I mean, it's. I think a lot of people struggle with different meanings of labels and stuff, and when words make their way into mainstream society, we have the likes of Stephen Bartlett on the Diary of a CEO, talking about ADHD and stuff like that. Then everyone sort of takes a take on the story,
Once a word makes it to LinkedIn, it's made it.
It's made it, yeah. So, and then often the case is people attach their own meanings because it's easier than going through the process of learning what it actually means. And so you watch a podcast, you watch a clip, and you're just like, oh, neurodiversity is just all those different people. You know, it's like pride, but for people's brains. You know, so the so the concept comes from basically everyone's got a unique brain, right? And neurodiversity is wanting to have equality for every type of brain, right? Like no matter what conditions you have or what upbringing or how you think, you might have dyslexia or dyspraxia or ADHD or nothing at all. You don't take any labels. You're just you having a society that accepts you for that without punishing you, without saying you need to be fixed or changed to fit into society. That's neurodiversity, right? So it's basically equality for all brains. Yeah. And I think the issue we have with the word is that people use neurodiversity when they're talking about neurodivergent people. They use neurodiversity when we're talking about neuroinclusion. They use it as a catch-all for everything. And what ends up happening is that the more sort of well-known conditions like ADHD or ASD take the limelight, and then it sort of defeats the purpose of it, you know. And when people say neurodivergent, they think, oh, you have ADHD, or I know someone who's got autism, and then you're like, that's not what I meant, but like that's what ends up happening.
Yeah. If it makes it easier for you to understand and have this conversation, then fine. But no.
Yeah. So I think that's what to me, that's what neurodiversity is. Yeah.
What is the most common problem that businesses have when they come to you for their website? So they come to you and say, oh, we need you to fix our website. Is there like a common problem that is like in all of those websites? Is there a recurring theme with the websites that you're shown?
Yeah, so it's a two-part thing, right? One, they don't have control of their website. So somebody probably built it 5, 10, 15 years ago, and that person either stopped working for them or passed away or whatever. They no longer have access to their website. And so they've been wanting to do updates. They've been wanting to, let people know all the cool stuff that they're doing, or maybe they've had a rebrand and they want to update the website and they just don't have access, right? And so usually we can either find a way to get into it, or we just build them a new one, because at that point, if it's been neglected for 15 years, there's more work to restore it and fix it than to just build a new one correct from the get-go. Technology changes so much in just 1 month, at the speed we're going now. Everything's got AI, everything's improving. So to have a website that hasn't been touched for like 5 years, it's basically a dinosaur. It's not fit for purpose anymore. So I think that's the main one, and in with that tie in symptoms of that, right? So a slow website, a website that doesn't rank well because the structure's wrong, or it's got technical issues, or there's security vulnerabilities because it's not been updated. So then they're worried about their data being breached and stuff like that. So the main thing is that it's been neglected for too long, and from that there's loads of other symptoms that we can treat.
How much of a silent killer is a slow website? Silent killer of business?
Yeah, I mean, the research shows that slow websites end up costing the British economy somewhere about £20 billion a year.
Wow.
So if you think about human attention span right now, it's not very high, right? Like most people, you lose them after 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So we used to say that when someone lands on your website, you have about 8 seconds to impress them and get them to do something. Now it's down to 3.
Wow.
So I blame TikTok.
Yeah.
But essentially, if your website takes longer than 3 seconds to load, people will just click back, go to the next website on Google and or whatever search engine they're using, and go to one of your competitors. So you might be doing really great marketing. You might be really, convincing people that they need this solution. They land on your website, it's too slow, they go to your competitor. So you're basically spending all this money to advertise your competition. So it's one of those, it's one of the biggest killers for businesses, especially when they are doing marketing and they haven't fixed the foundational stuff.
Right, yeah. So they're like spending the money, they're trying to grow,
Yeah.
but there's this problem right at the start of their funnel, which is turning business away.
Yeah.
So it's like, did you say it's 20 billion?
20 billion. Yeah, that was the estimation from, I think, Forbes. Yeah, I done a post about it a while ago.
That's crazy. 20 billion just from people going, eh.
Yeah, because if we can see that in what's called a bounce rate. So a bounce rate is someone who's been on the website and they've not engaged with the website and then they've left, right? So if the average bounce rate for websites is 70%. If your website is slower than 2 seconds, it goes up to 90%.
Wow.
So at that point, if you're getting 1,000 people a month and only 100 of them actually have the patience to sit there and go through your website, and then on average, like maybe 1 out of 100 people actually spend some money with you. Yeah, 1 for every 1,000, because those first 900 are just wiped off because they don't have the patience to wait.
So how can businesses fix that? So that sounds like a pretty basic problem to have, right? Is like 90% or anything like that. It's like, it's just, you need to fix the damn load speed.
Yeah,
and then you like so much more business will be trickling through.
I mean, even from a SEO point of view, Google ranks your page speed as a high factor of whether they'll rank you highly on Google search results.
Because user experience, right?
It's all about the user experience, right? So their goal is always to get the answer to you as quickly as possible. And so if you're the only one with the answer that they have and your website's slow, it's just going to find someone that's not as good but is faster and put them up higher because that's their main prerogative. So yeah, you can lose a lot of money from it.
Because Google's ultimate goal is to keep people using Google.
Yeah.
Right? So if they're using Google and the results are pissing them off, they're going to go to DuckDuckGo or
Yahoo.
Ask Jeeves.
Yeah. Bing. Bing's had a massive growth over the past couple of years. I mean, Google's always had like a 97% sort of like market share when it comes to, which is obscene amount.
It's the Hoover of browsers, right?
Yeah. Nobody says, oh, search something on internet. It was like, can you Google that?
Dude, just Bing it.
Yeah, I'm sure Microsoft dream of the day that's going to be a phrase.
Yeah.
Just Bing it. Yeah. No.
What are you aiming for next year? What's your New Year's resolution?
So New Year's resolution is not to gain any more weight this Christmas. I'm not joking. But well, I don't really do New Year resolutions because I find out they're a bit of a
start tomorrow kind of thing.
Yeah. So every November, me and my wife do a vision board and goal setting for like next 12 months. And then I create a nice little graphic and we set it as our wallpapers. So on my iPad and my phone, I have my vision board as my wallpaper. And so all my goals for the business, personal, family, everything are there, and I see them every time I turn on my devices. So I don't really believe in New Year resolutions, because why wait for the new year to do something you can do today?
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of said that like kind of tongue in cheek. And I just want to, so the vision board thing, I think a lot of people look down on that kind of thing. They see it as like a cheesy thing to do.
Yeah.
But like my wife and I did that in the summer of 2020. Can't say the other word, otherwise this video would go nowhere in terms of reach. My wife and I did that in summer 2020. We wrote it down on a big bit of A4 paper, put it on the wall, on the cork board that we had. And then I also did a digital version of like things that I could see, and it was on my phone background and and it wasn't my background on the computer, but it was because I like having a clean desktop. But it was like an image. So every morning I'd get on and I'd click spacebar and just look at it for a couple of minutes and then turn it off. And then like as the year progressed, I got busier and busier and stopped doing it.
Yeah.
But then when I looked back at it recently, I was like, I've actually done like over half of that, and I haven't been looking at it. So I was like, what if I continued that ritual? Like it does work. Right?
I find that the more you keep your visions clear, your goals and stuff clear in your mind, your brain sort of subconsciously works on the problem. You know, how do I get there? Am I working towards it? And I think it's sort of like that compass that steers you. Like when you're faced with a decision, it's like, do I do this? Do I do that? And you've got nothing really to balance it off. Or you can say, okay, is it getting me closer to my vision board? It's like, okay, I'm going to go this way. And so with me, because I don't have, like, I struggle with object permanence.
Yeah.
Because I'm often on my phone, that's why I have it there. Because whenever I look at it, I tab out of an app, it's right there. You know, so it's always front of mind. You know, so that's why we done it that way. We did have printed ones, and we have them on the wall, but I'm out. 8 hours a day anyway, so I don't get to see it.
Yeah, obviously that time in life we were indoors, but
so I think vision boarding is definitely one of the goal setting. But I think just don't wait for New Year's to set up goals and stuff. Just write them down. And there was an interesting thing I saw recently is about. Okay, so it's like if I ask you 25 times 5, you'd be able to work it out in your mind?
Maybe.
Yeah, okay, so it's 125, right? But if I asked you to do...
I knew that.
3,750 times 145, maybe you might say, like, can I get some paper and I'll work it out?
Yeah, or this sick app I've got on my phone.
Yeah, calculator. But you would have to write down the numbers and you'd have to work it out. And what I see a lot of people do is when it comes to their life, their business, their goals, they never write it down on paper.
Yeah.
They think, oh, I'll work it out here. It's like, okay, you can't do a slightly difficult math equation in your mind, but you're going to solve the complexities of life itself without writing down anything on paper. You know? So
you know what? I really agree with that. And it's like something I've done every day this year is I've kept not a journal, but I've wrote like a 5-minute morning journal.
Yeah.
Like 3 things I want to have done today, a must-do list, like an affirmation and a gratitude list. And it's like, at first I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but it's January, hey ho. Yeah. But I've actually done it like near enough every day. And it really has worked. And it's also that act of getting it from here onto paper.
Yeah.
And then, like you say about the phone, it's on my desk, and throughout the day I look at it and go, okay, I need to do this. I need to do the things, right?
Yeah. There's something about having it physically in the real world rather than
analog, right?
Yeah, because there's something like, did you ever watch Harry Potter? You know, when they're like pulling out the memories out of like that pot of...
I always use that analogy, bro.
Right?
That's how I think about whenever I talk to like my accountant. I basically think about accounting and finance as like, I'm a social media marketer, a content creator. I've got no business doing my accounts.
Yeah.
So I always explain it as like anything like financial. If a brown letter comes through the door, it's just that moment where Dumbledore's just yanking a memory out and going, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm talking about it from the other perspective that, you know, the big bucket with all the swirly silver thoughts in there, the memories and stuff, that's how people's brains are. You have hundreds of thousands of thoughts per day. So you're like, oh, that's a great one. And then if you don't write it down, it's gone into the ether of like all the other silver thoughts, right? So I think getting things down on paper or on your phone or whatever works, as long as you transfer it from the flash memory into the hard drive, like, and then you've got it there stored. You can look back at it, right? And I think what you're doing with the journaling in the morning, it's really great because after a year, you can actually look back at them. I can't remember what I had for breakfast 2 days ago.
I did, because basically one of the notebooks that I use, I got a set of 3 for Christmas, and I was like, what am I going to use these for? So, and that's why I started doing it.
Yeah.
And they take about 6 months to fill up. So the other day I was like, I'm getting to the end of the second one. So I looked back through the first one, and I was like skimming through the pages, and I was like, I'm actually like, I could see how I improved on it and everything like that. And then after a while, the system's there. And then, like, I say I did it every day. There's some days where I don't get to it.
Yeah.
And then there's some days where I only do half of it. And then there was just one page that just said lol. That's like, well, that must have been a good day or a really bad day. But yeah, it's definitely something that, I mean, January's the month of like, I'm going to go running every day and all this. Loads of people will join the gym and everything like that. That was something that I thought I was going to do for a few days in January, but it's actually really helped me, and I've done it near enough the whole year. And it's definitely here to stay, I think. And it really relates to what you're saying about getting it out of this milkshake maker of thoughts and just onto paper.
Yeah. I think that's where most people, like you meet some business owners and you ask them about what their plans and their goals are for the business, like, do you have a business plan? And they're like, it's all up here. I'm like, that's really useless. Like, if anything happens to you, nobody else knows what the plan is.
Yeah.
I think as a business owner, like, number one thing that you could do is transfer that information, that plan, that vision, and share it with the team in writing, because then firstly, everyone's going to work towards the same goals, and everyone's clear on what their targets are, what they're supposed to be doing. If it's all in your head and the only way they get that information is when you tell them that information bit by bit, you drip feed it, and then you tell them something in January, but then in March you tell them something different. It just creates confusion.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really set you up for success. So I think, but that applies to every aspect of your life. Me and my wife, that's why we do that planning session, because she'll have trips that she might have to do for work, and I'm thinking, oh, I want to go in Feb. I want to go to Spain or whatever for a little trip. Oh, we can't do that because she's going to be at a work trip. So if we don't speak about it now, when were we going to plan it?
Yeah.
Like the week before. They'll be like, oh, I can't make it. Oh, but I bought the tickets. It just creates uncomfortable situations for no reason. So I think it's just something everyone should do, really.